While verifying the numbers for next month's mortgage, I opened the shared notes folder my husband and I kept on iCloud. I stumbled upon a hidden folder titled 100 Things to Get Ava Out of Clyde. The list was extensive. 1. Tell Dawn the budget for the outreach program's been cut. Use the money put aside for the SUV to help Ava run her own bed and breakfast. 2. She has her eye on the custom platinum necklace. Place an order tomorrow. I stared at my mobile screen, my blood running cold. Mike had spent the past year working in a remote community. When I found myself in the ER with a high fever, Mike simply told me, "Reception's terrible out here. Just drink plenty of fluids." I probed him with a text. "Babe, can you pick me up a silver bracelet while you're in Black Mountain next week?" Mike was quick to respond. "There's nothing around here but farms and dirt roads. Stop asking for expensive stuff. I'm busy." Minutes later, I watched the note update in real time. 3. Dawn wants a silver bracelet, but I can't get her one because every jeweler within 100 miles is busy finishing Ava's one-of-a-kind jewelry pieces. With my eyes glued to the screen, I chuckled. Not voicing any issues, I simply tapped on the family relocation consent form tied to his transfer request and declined it. Mike sent a voice note right there and then, his tone of voice weary and dismissive. "Babe, I know this assignment has been hard. When I come home, why don't we have the wedding we never got to have?" I stared at the 12-second voice note sitting on my screen, neither tapping to convert it to text nor replying. Mike Tank's WhatsApp profile still displayed the photo from our wedding day. In the past, I often told him to swap it out for a proper headshot, so he wouldn't look unprofessional to his superiors in work group chats. Mike refused every time. Squeezing my hand in his palm, he said he wanted everyone to know that he was taken. Yet now, the same married man had filled his notes app with another woman's name. The next morning at 8, Mike's video call came through right on cue. I accepted the call and set the phone upright on my vanity table. On screen, Mike wore his washed-out windbreaker, the aging county office building with its peeling paint behind him. With dark circles under his eyes and a heavy frown, Mike lifted a chipped mug to his lips. "The meeting ran late last night, honey. I didn't get a chance to text you back. Life out here's rough. I don't get hot water most days and my stomach's killing me. I can't keep anything down." I paused while applying my lipstick, my eyes falling on the shirt beneath his windbreaker. It was brand new, its collar trimmed with intricate embroidery. The shirt was completely out of character for Mike. Once, I bought him a patterned shirt from an artisan market, but he shoved it to the back of the closet, claiming it was too flashy. I looked him in the eye and asked, "Nice shirt. Did you pick it out yourself?" Mike glanced down at his collar, his gaze shifty. However, he was quick to pull himself together. "No. One of the older ladies in town gave it to me. She meant well. It would have been rude not to wear it." He sighed and put his mug down. "Dawn, folks out here are simple. They are genuine. They appreciate the smallest kindness. You've spent your whole life in the big city. You care about designer labels and nice things. You wouldn't understand what a gift like this means to them. I didn't want to hurt any feelings, so I put it on." My knuckles went white as my grip on the lipstick tightened. Apparently, expecting quality made me materialistic. He saved his excuses for me while giving every ounce of his attention and care to Ava. I clicked the lipstick cap shut and looked at him through the screen. Since it's so tough out there, I might as well use my annual leave to come down to the town, see you, and bring over some meds and seasonal clothes next week. "You can't." Mike jolted to his feet and knocked the mug over, spilling his drink all over the table. Without even stopping to wipe up the spill, he raised his voice. "The rainy season's starting, and there've been landslides on the mountain roads. It's dangerous. Honestly, you'd just be another thing I'd have to worry about. Dawn, just stay home, okay?" Mike cut the conversation short and ended the call before I could say another word. 5 minutes later, a notification slid across my screen. Mike updated a shared note. 4. Almost blew it today. I wish I could wear the shirt Ava made for me every day. I must stop Dawn from coming. I'll take Ava to Black Mountain tomorrow to shop for furniture for her B&B. My stomach was in knots when I read the memo. It wasn't the landslide he feared. He simply didn't want me to stumble into the little world he had created with Ava. I opened the airline app and booked the earliest flight to Black Mountain. The brick sidewalks of Black Mountain left my feet aching. Following the location in Mike's note, I arrived at a cozy B&B that was still being renovated. A rough wooden sign leaned against the porch, with the words, "Ava and Mike's Little Hideaway," written in marker. I stood in the shadows across the street, while Mike stepped onto a ladder to hang a handcrafted wind chime beneath the porch roof. A young woman stepped outside carrying a mason jar of iced tea. Getting on her tiptoes, she brought the drink to his lips. Mike leaned down and drank straight from the jar in her hands. Once the liquid went down his throat, he climbed down the ladder and wiped the sweat off the girl's forehead with his sleeve, his gesture practiced as if he had done so many times before. He moved with care, afraid to hurt her in the slightest. "Tired? Leave the heavy lifting to me. Don't go blistering your hands." The Mike I knew wouldn't even pick up his own socks. Every time I asked him to change a light bulb, he would tell me to call the maintenance office myself. Yet there he was, handling every heavy job without being asked. Ava rested her head against Mike's arm, her voice crisp and airy. Mike, are you sure your wife won't be upset over your purchases? Without missing a beat, Mike tucked a loose strand of hair behind her ear. She only cares about my paycheck. She doesn't understand me at all. You get me, Ava. You're my soulmate. My heart dropped, squeezing every breath from my lungs. My stomach rolled violently. I turned away and leaned against a stone retaining wall, dry heaving until my throat burned, but nothing came up. No tears came. Drawing a few deep breaths, I pulled out my phone and placed a video call to Mike. The line rang 3 times before going dead. Later, Mike called back on audio, his voice dripping with annoyance. Honey, I'm doing community visits right now. I'm with a few county officials, so this isn't a good time right now. Across the street, I watched Mike anxiously step away from Ava to find a quiet spot to talk. Shoved aside, Ava bit her lip and stared intently at the photo in Mike's grasp. I stared at the back of his silhouette, my voice flat. Babe, surprise. I'm in Black Mountain. I'm right outside a local jewelry shop. Do you want to come out and pick me up? Mike froze and nearly dropped his phone to the ground. Whipping his head around frantically, he began pacing erratically toward the top of the street. Why didn't you listen to me? Which street are you on right now? Don't wander off. The roads around here are a maze. Ava went up to take his hand, but Mike brushed her off violently. I replied, fooled you. I'm not there. Mike stopped and heaved a sigh of relief. You almost gave me a heart attack. I'm still out in the field. I've got to go. My superior is looking for me. Once the call ended, I stared at the new message popping up on my phone. I got a DM on my social media work account. The sender's handle was Ava from the mountains. Hello there, Cloud. I came across your interior design portfolio online and absolutely love your work. My boyfriend and I are opening a local B&B in Black Mountain soon. We'd love to bring you on to help style the interiors and create some social media content for the launch. I tapped on her avatar and stared at that familiar face before typing out a reply. Sure. I replied to Ava from the business account on my laptop while sitting in a quiet corner of a cafe 2 blocks from her property. Hello, Ava. My schedule is tight this month, but I am currently visiting the Black Mountain region for a heritage architecture survey. If you can provide the blueprints and budget overview by tonight, we can schedule an initial on-site consultation tomorrow morning. Her response came back within 2 minutes. That's amazing. We're on a tight deadline because we want to soft launch before the Regional Tourism and Heritage Summit next month. My my partner, has put so much effort into this place. We want it to be perfect. Fiancé. I stared at the word on the screen. My fingers didn't tremble. My pulse didn't race. I took a slow sip of black coffee, watching the bitter liquid coat the ceramic cup. 10 minutes later, my phone chimed. The shared iCloud notes folder updated in real time. 5. Ava found the famous designer Clyde online. She's ecstatic. I need to pull another $20,000 from the joint home renovation fund to cover the retainer before Dawn checks the quarterly statements. I'll tell Dawn the county withheld my per diem again. I opened my banking app, pulled up our joint liquid account, and exported the transaction logs for the past 14 months into an encrypted PDF. Then, I forwarded the file to my attorney, Marcus Vance, along with a voice memo. Marcus, start drafting the divorce petition. Include an emergency motion for asset freezing based on fraudulent dissipation of marital property. I'll send you the forensic accounting receipts in batches over the next 2 weeks. Are you all right, Dawn? Marcus's voice came back 5 minutes later, quiet and professional. I'm entirely clear-headed, I replied. I just need the paperwork watertight. The next morning at 9, I walked up the stone pathway of the B&B. I wore an oversized charcoal wool coat, a structured wide-brim felt hat, and dark designer sunglasses. In my field, high-end commercial designers often kept an aura of sharp, eccentric detachment. Ava was waiting on the wooden porch, wearing a pale blue linen dress with delicate floral embroidery around the cuffs, the exact same hand-stitched style as the shirt Mike had worn on our video call. Miss Cloud, Ava greeted me, her eyes lighting up. She rushed down the steps, with both hands outstretched, projecting the picture of rustic, dewy-eyed innocence. I can't believe you're actually here in person. Welcome to our little sanctuary. Miss Miller, I said, offering a cool, polite nod without taking her hands. I pulled a sleek leather portfolio from my bag. Let's keep to business. Show me the floor plan and the structural permits. Ava led me through the ground floor. The layout was chaotic, filled with raw pine timber and half-installed plumbing. My partner, Mike, handled the foundation work. Ava explained proudly, running her fingers along a rough-hewn support beam. He's a civil coordinator for the district outreach office. He practically built this porch with his bare hands. After his shift every evening, he said a woman like me deserves a place where her soul can rest. A civil coordinator, I repeated, measuring the room with a laser distance. Meta. Public officials usually have strict conflict of interest regulations regarding private commercial investments. Does he hold equity in this establishment? Ava's smile stiffened slightly, but her voice remained airy. Oh no. On paper, everything is under my name. Mike just supports me. Says his official salary is meaningless compared to helping me realize my dream. I see, I murmured, snapping a high-resolution photo of the structural beam. Stenciled in faded black industrial ink near the iron joint was a serial code. CDISTPW0842. It was the inventory batch mark of the County Public Works Department, materials, allocated specifically for the reinforced concrete bridges of the Poverty Alleviation Road project in Clyde. Mike hadn't just used our savings. He had stolen public infrastructure supplies to build his mistress a private sanctuary. At noon, Ava's phone rang. She answered it on speaker while setting out 2 porcelain cups of herbal tea on a rustic workbench. Babe, Mike's voice rumbled through the speaker, warm, attentive, and completely devoid of the exhaustion he always performed for me. Did the designer arrive? Don't let her overcharge you just because she's from the city. If she gives you any attitude, let me know. I'll handle her. She's very professional, Mike, Ava giggled, looking at me with an apologetic expression. She's taking measurements right now. When are you coming by? I made that wild mushroom stew you like. I'm stuck at the district depot until 4, Mike sighed. The county auditors are doing a spot check on the bridge timber inventory. Some paperwork got mixed up, but I've got the warehouse supervisor covering for me. Don't worry about it. Save some stew for me, all right? Always, Ava said softly. Love you. Love you more, sweet girl. The line clicked dead. Ava turned to me, blushing slightly. Sorry about that. He's always so protective. He worries about me constantly. It's no problem, I replied, my voice smooth and level as I sketched a lighting layout on my iPad. You two seem very devoted. We are, Ava said, her chin lifting with subtle, triumphant pride. He told me that his previous life was like walking through a desert. His wife is an executive in the city, cold, obsessed with status, always demanding he climb the corporate ladder. He said being with her felt like suffocating in an air-conditioned box. With me, he says he finally learned how to breathe. I looked up from my tablet, my sunglasses concealing my eyes. Is that what he told you? Yes, Ava sighed, adjusting a silver hair clip. He said he's just waiting for the right moment to finalize the paperwork so we can be married before the B&B's grand opening. A clean break is always best, I said, turning the tablet toward her. Here is my preliminary design concept. I call it the glass mirage. We will use high-transparency glass walls on the upper deck to expose the internal structure. It will create an illusion of total openness and honesty. Ava gasped, her eyes scanning the 3D rendering. It's breathtaking. It looks like a crystal palace in the mountains. It will be, I replied, the corner of my mouth curving into a razor-thin smile. And every single detail will be thoroughly documented for the public launch. That evening, I checked into a private boutique hotel on the outskirts of Black Mountain. I opened my laptop, linked my phone, and watched the shared iCloud notes folder refresh. 6. Ava loved the design. The designer asked about the commercial permits. I need to make sure the county inspection report lists the B&B as an ecological, cultural demonstration unit, so we get the $50,000 municipal subsidy. I'll forge the community council's signature tomorrow morning. 7. Dawn texted asking why our savings account is down $40,000. I told her I had to pay up front for an emergency medical evacuation vehicle for a sick child in the village. She bought it. She's so gullible as long as it sounds like charity. I stared at entry number 7. My phone sat on the glass desk beside me. 3 hours ago, I had sent him that exact message. Mike, why was there a $40,000 withdrawal from our joint account yesterday? His reply had been immediate. A 5-year-old girl in the village had acute appendicitis during the landslide. The road was blocked, so I had to hire a private off-road rescue team out of pocket. Dawn, these people have nothing. You wouldn't begrudge a dying child medical care, would you? I had replied with one word. Understood. And he had taken that single word as proof of my absolute stupidity. I pulled up the regional government portal, logged into the public whistleblower registry using an encrypted proxy, and began uploading the evidence. 1. High-resolution photographs of the public works serial codes on the B&B's timber framing. 2. The certified bank transfer logs matching the $40,000 withdrawal to the B&B's commercial contractor, Apex Construction. 3. The real-time screen recordings of Mike's iCloud notes entries complete. With timestamps, device IP locations, and metadata. I set the scheduled submission time for 9 a.m. on the day of the Tourism and Heritage Summit. Then, I opened a new project file on my laptop titled The Final Reckoning. For the next 2 weeks, I lived a double life. By day, I was Clyde, the brilliant, demanding metropolitan designer who transformed the dilapidated B&B into a visually stunning, rustic chic masterpiece that gained 20,000 followers on Instagram within 7 days of teaser posts. By night, I was Dawn, the quiet, distant wife who listened to Mike's daily video calls, watching him act out his martyr complex while wearing the shirts his mistress embroidered for him. Dawn, the weather's getting worse, Mike said during a call 5 days before the summit. He looked thinner, his face drawn from the stress of juggling his municipal fraud and his secret lover. I might have to stay in Clyde through the winter. Don't wait up for me. Don't worry, Mike, I replied, looking straight into the camera as I polished a delicate silver wine glass. I won't be waiting. The morning of the Black Mountain Regional Tourism and Heritage Summit arrived. With crisp autumn sunshine and cloudless blue skies, the B&B, now officially rebranded as the Mountain Sanctuary, stood at the head of the village road like a jewel. The cedarwood gleamed under natural linseed oil, the transparent glass pavilion on the upper floor reflected the golden pine forests, and the stone courtyard was adorned with artisanal iron lamps and bespoke linen banners. More than 200 guests crowded the gravel driveway. Municipal leaders, provincial tourism directors, regional lifestyle journalists, and prominent commercial investors. Ava stood near the entrance in an ivory silk wrap dress, her hair pinned up with fresh wild jasmine, holding a crystal flute of sparkling cider. She was radiant, flushed with the dizzying triumph of a small-town girl who had suddenly become the center of high society. Mike stood 3 steps behind her, dressed in a brand-new charcoal suit, the very suit he had claimed he needed for his provincial performance review. His chest was puffed out, his arm casually brushing against Ava's waist whenever the cameras turned away. Distinguished guests, honored leaders, the master of ceremonies announced over the outdoor sound system. Today we celebrate not only the launch of a premier ecotourism destination, but a shining example of public-private synergy in our rural revitalization initiative. The crowd applauded. Please welcome the visionary founder, Miss Ava Miller, and her lead project coordinator, Mr. Michael Tank. Ava stepped up to the wooden podium, tears glistening in her wide, doe-like eyes. Thank you, everyone. Ava spoke into the microphone, her voice melodic and choked with emotion. A year ago, this place was just a dream in my heart. But with the selfless dedication of my partner, Mike, and the incredible spatial vision of our master designer, Miss Cloud, we built a home for the soul. She turned toward the back of the platform, gesturing grandly. Today, we are honored to have Miss Cloud join us in person for the ribbon-cutting ceremony. Miss Cloud, please step forward. The journalists raised their cameras, lenses focusing on the side staircase of the glass pavilion. The heavy glass door swung open. I walked out onto the elevated cedar platform. I had taken off the felt hat. I had taken off the dark sunglasses. I wore an impeccably tailored black Saint Laurent pantsuit, my hair pulled back into a severe, sleek low bun, my diamond earrings catching the mountain sunlight with cold, blinding brilliance. The smile on Mike's face did not merely fade. It shattered. The color drained from Mike's skin so rapidly he looked as though he had suffered a massive coronary event on the spot. His jaw dropped, his hands hanging limp at his sides, his knees wobbling beneath his tailored trousers. Didon. Mike stammered, the name tearing from his throat in a dry, broken rasp that was instantly picked up by the lapel microphone clipped to his jacket. Ava blinked, looking between Mike's petrified face and my calm, unmoving gaze. Mike. What's wrong? Do you know Miss Cloud? I stepped up to the podium, gently nudging Ava aside with the edge of my leather portfolio. I pulled the microphone toward me. Good morning, directors, inspectors, and distinguished guests, I said, my voice smooth, resonant, and carrying effortlessly across the silent mountain valley. My name is Dawn Bradley. I am the founder and principal director of Studio Cloud Design. I turned my head slightly, looking directly into Mike's bloodshot, terror-stricken eyes. And for the past 6 years, I have had the misfortune of being the legal wife of Mr. Michael Tank. The courtyard went dead silent. Journalists froze mid-keystroke. The county deputy commissioner, sitting in the front row, slowly lowered his teacup, his brow furrowing into deep, ominous lines. Wife, Ava whispered, her voice cracking into a high-pitched squeak. She stumbled back 2 steps, her crystal glass slipping from her fingers and shattering against the polished stone floor. No. Mike, you told me your wife was an accountant who hated you. You said you were legally separated. Shut up. Ava, shut your mouth. Mike hissed in a frantic, unhinged panic. lunging toward the podium to grab the microphone from my hand. Dawn, stop this. You're having a nervous breakdown. Leaders, please excuse my wife, she's been under psychiatric care for depression. Before his fingers could touch the microphone stand, 2 uniformed officers from the Provincial Disciplinary Inspection Bureau stepped onto the platform, their heavy hands clamping down on Mike's shoulders like iron vices. Mr. Michael Tank, the lead investigator said, flashing a gold embossed identification badge. Do not move. You are currently under formal investigation for embezzlement of municipal infrastructure funds and abuse of public office. What? Mike screamed, thrashing against their grip. This is an outrage. I am a model civil servant. I built this project to revitalize the county. Did you, Mr. Tank? I clicked the wireless remote in my left hand. The 60-foot digital projection screen behind the podium, intended to display the BNB's promotional video, flickered to life. The screen did not show interior photographs. It displayed the high-definition, live synchronization of the iCloud notes folder. 100 things to get Ava out of Clyde. The text scrolled automatically, highlighted in red. 1. Tell Dawn the budget for the outreach program's been cut. Use the money put aside for the SUV to help Ava run her own bed and breakfast. 3. Dawn wants a silver bracelet, but I can't get her one because every jeweler within 100 miles is busy finishing Ava's one-of-a-kind jewelry pieces. 6. Forge the community council's signature tomorrow morning to claim the $52,000 municipal subsidy. 12. Diverted 30 tons of high-grade reinforced steel from the River North Bridge project to build Ava's second-floor glass terrace. The bridge can use standard concrete filler instead. Nobody will notice until the next flood season. A collective, horrified gasp erupted from the 200 attendees. The deputy commissioner shot up from his seat, his face mottled with purple rage, slamming his fist onto the table. River North Bridge timber. The bridge that 3,000 schoolchildren cross every single morning. The commissioner roared, pointing a shaking finger at Mike. You risked human lives for a glass terrace? No, it's fake. It's a hack. Mike wailed, sweat pouring down his face like rain soaking his collar. She fabricated the notes. She's jealous. She's trying to destroy my career because I wanted a divorce. Document 2. I stated calmly into the microphone, clicking the remote again. The screen split into 4 quadrants. Top left, the bank routing records showing $94,000. Transferred from our joint marital account directly to Ava Miller's personal debit card. Top right, the supply invoices from the County Public Works Depot, cross-referenced with the exact serial code stenciled onto the timber beams, directly above the guests' heads. Bottom left, the custom jewelry certificate for the platinum diamond pendant, signed by Mike Tank and registered to Ava Miller, paid for using the municipal flood relief contingency fund. Bottom right, a signed, notarized legal declaration from the master contractor of Apex Construction, confirming that Michael Tank personally instructed him to use stolen government materials to build the BNB. And finally, I said, looking down at Ava, who was currently trembling against the wooden railing like a leaf in a gale, the intellectual property rights for the entire architectural and interior design of this establishment belong exclusively to Studio Cloud Design. I pulled a stamped legal decree from my portfolio under the emergency commercial injunction granted by the Provincial High Court. At 8:30 a.m. this morning, this property is seized as collateral for marital asset dissipation and criminal restitution. Miss Miller, you have 15 minutes to collect your personal clothing and vacate the premises. Mike, Ava shrieked, losing every shred of her gentle, rustic composure. Lunged forward, her sharp acrylic nails raking across Mike's cheek, leaving 3 bloody gashes. You lied to me. You told me you were an executive. You told me this land was paid for. You told me you owned the construction firm. Get off me, you greedy parasite. Mike snarled, shoving her backward so violently that she crashed into a display table, sending vintage pottery shattering across the floor. If it weren't for your endless whining about wanting a luxury BNB, I would never have touched the district accounts. You bled me dry. I bled you dry. Ava screamed, her makeup running in black streaks down her face. You chased me. You begged me to let you touch my hand. You told me you'd buy me the world if I let you stay in my room. You're a pathetic thieving clerk. The cameras flash frantically. Journalists push through the velvet ropes, capturing every second of the pair tearing each other apart in front of the regional authorities. Take them both into custody, the lead investigator commanded coldly. The officers snapped steel handcuffs around Mike's wrists, twisting his arms behind his back. As they dragged him down the wooden steps, Mike twisted his neck, his bloodshot eyes locking onto me where I stood beneath the golden sunlight. Dawn, Mike wept, his arrogance completely shattered, tears and blood dripping from his chin onto his ruined suit. Dawn, please. 6 years. We were married. For 6 years. I made a mistake. It was a moment of weakness. She seduced me. I'll give back the money. I'll sign the house over to you. Tell them to drop the charges. I'll lose my pension. I'll go to prison. I stood at the edge of the platform, looking down at him from behind the polished railing. I remembered the night I lay in the emergency room with a 104-degree fever, shivering beneath a thin hospital sheet, reading his text. Reception's terrible. Out here. Just drink plenty of fluids. I remembered the cold wind in Black Mountain when I watched him wipe the sweat from another woman's brow with tender, practiced devotion. I reached up, unpinned the simple silver wedding band from my left hand, and let it drop from my fingers. The small ring fell through the air, bouncing once against the wooden steps, before tumbling into the damp, dark dirt beneath the porch. Drink plenty of fluids, Mike, I said softly. The police cruiser door slammed shut with a heavy, final thud. 6 months later, the winter snow had melted from the northern peaks, giving way to the brilliant emerald green of early spring. In the provincial capital, the High Court handed down its final judgments. Michael Tank was convicted on charges of grand embezzlement of public infrastructure funds, bribery, forgery of state documents, and willful endangerment of public safety. He was sentenced to 8.5 years at the maximum security correctional facility in the Northern District, stripped permanently of all public honors, and ordered to pay $340,000 in restitution and civil damages. Ava Miller was prosecuted as an accessory to commercial fraud. The court ordered the immediate forfeiture of all assets under her name, including the luxury jewelry, the designer furnishings, and her personal savings. Bankrupted and blacklisted across the hospitality industry, she returned to her parents' dilapidated farm in the Deep Valley, working 12-hour shifts at a roadside gravel quarry to pay off her secondary debts. Our marital home in the city was awarded entirely to me, along with the liquidated proceeds of Mike's seized accounts and full ownership of the Black Mountain property. On a sunny Tuesday morning, I stood on the upper glass terrace of the mountain sanctuary. The B&B had been completely restructured. The gaudy crimson signs and romantic slogans were gone. In their place stood an elegant minimalist stone plaque, the Highland Cultural Center and Public Library. The ground floor was filled with local children reading books from the newly endowed Educational Foundation. The upper glass pavilion had become an open-air studio for visiting artists and architects, and the River North Bridge down in the valley had been completely rebuilt using reinforced titanium steel bearing a plaque dedicated to transparent public infrastructure. My assistant walked onto the terrace, carrying a warm latte and a leather-bound folder. Dawn, the European Architectural Digest just published the feature on the community library, she said, her eyes shining with excitement. They called it the purest glass in the East, a monument to truth and structural clarity. I took the warm cup, feeling the gentle mountain breeze lift the strands of hair from my shoulders. I pulled out my phone, opened the iCloud settings, and navigated to the shared folder that had once held 100 lies. I selected the folder. I tapped permanently delete. A small pop-up window appeared on the screen. Are you sure you want to erase all contents? This action cannot be undone. I smiled, pressed the button, and looked up at the vast, boundless sky, stretching over the green mountains. The air was clean, the horizon was clear, and my life, entirely mine, was just beginning.